All right, I want to welcome everyone to the very first live broadcast of the John McEntyre Show. So we're calling this John McEntyre Live. And today we're going to kick this off talking about setting up a firm foundation. And with me, I have Andrea McEntyre, which is a financial expert, and my wife also. So, Andrea, I want to welcome you to the show. And to kick off our very first one, it won't be perfect, but we're going to work. We've had some technical difficulties to work with, but we're here and we're going to get this thing done, right?
Right. Thanks for having me, John.
Okay, no problem. So, today's, I guess, inaugural edition of the John McEntyre Show Live, we're talking about establishing a firm foundation. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So, with that firm foundation, it just helps no matter where you are to always make sure everything is in the right place. And if it's not, you can always pause and get things back on track.
Okay. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to get this thing, get everything kicked off. It's going to be a recording. I think it's around 15 to 20 minutes. Then we'll come back and talk some more, and then we'll close out the show. How about that?
Have
So enjoy the show, and we'll be talking to you soon.
All right, welcome to the show. We all know out there that having a secure financial future is built upon a secure, sound financial foundation. And so today I'm having financial expert and my wife, Andrea McEntyre, on the show with me, and we're going to talk about building a sound financial foundation today. So, Andrea, I want to welcome you to the show. And so we're going to be talking about having a sound financial foundation. Say that 3 times and try to get it right, right? So, what what do what does it take to build a sound financial foundation?
Well, John, the first thing that you want to start with is making sure that you have some type of plan. And many times we may have a plan to in our head, but it's not on paper. And
Mm-hmm.
if we have a family, we have dreams and goals, we don't get very far if we don't look at our plan very often and we don't build a team and recruit help, whether that's education, resources, or as I mentioned, a team. What we like to do is make sure that you're starting with not just a plan, but you start at the basics with a good foundation. And starting with a firm foundation is beginning with your cash flow and your basic needs, and then also making sure that you have the protection in place as you move forward on your journey.
Okay, so we having in this foundation part, you mentioned having cash flow. You mentioned
Mhm.
cash flow. So one of the parts of a foundation is making sure not only cash flow but cash on hand. Is that correct?
Yes, you're absolutely correct. So if we were to break it down into three components, when you're looking at cash flow, some people may just say your income, your take home
Mhm.
pay. So if you are a contractor, a W 2 employee, or a business owner,
Mhm.
and this includes your side hustles as well, these are
Okay.
all forms of income. If you have investments that are generating some interest, that revenue coming to you. Uh,
Hmm.
if you have real estate properties, there's different things that can provide additional income streams, but it all boils down to income. And the income that you have on a regular basis, that is what's coming into your home. And you want to make sure that you're able to know what those income streams are. And then you want to have, I mentioned your basic needs or your spending plan or your budget. Some people look at that as a bad word, but once you have your income sources, then you need to look at what are you telling your money to do, or if you're not telling your money what to do, what's your money doing?
We talked to people numerous of times, you know, and all across the United States and even other parts of the world. Uh, the word budget is it's a serious word no matter where you are. And so uh, some people it's better to just think about the word budget as a spending plan, because that's what you're doing. You're just telling your money what to do, and you're planning what you're going to do with the money. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'd like to go a step further and break down the spending plan or the budget.
Okay.
So when you're looking at your spending plan, we've already talked about the first part, which is your cash flow, your sources of income, your income
Mm-hmm.
streams. So
Right.
now that you have money coming in, your spending plan, you have different categories, and you can go into multiple levels depending on um, how detailed you want to go. The basics is to start with your fixed expenses. These are predictable, level, consistent type of expenses. This could be your mortgage payment, your lease payment. This could also be your car payment if you happen to have a car, or if you have any other type of fixed monthly expenses. That could be cell phone, that could be your electric, your water. You get the idea of that. These are fixed, predictable. Then there's the category of variable, and within variable, it means exactly what it's implying. It will fluctuate. It will go up and down. And we could start with a common one that a lot of people will sweep under the rug. So entertainment could be in the forms of uh, it could be your concert. Maybe you have a concert bucket and you're going to, whether it's summer series or a special type of concert, or games or things like that. And this could be on a regular basis, weekly. It could be once a month. It could even be something special and big that could happen once a quarter or twice a year. Eating out. This could be with you and your family. Maybe you have a weekly pizza night. I know pizza's pretty special to you, John.
Yes,
It
it's
could
pretty special
also,
to us. It's pretty special to us.
yes, it is. We look forward to it to every Saturday.
Pieces is a
So,
large part of the budget. Yeah.
yeah.
I cut some
So,
things out to keep the pizza in the budget. So
well, we'll get to that when we start talking about some other things, because if you're
right.
building in pizza and other things, you might
Hmm.
want to build in some other habits as well,
Right.
healthier habits to balance it. So I talked about the variable expenses. So that's entertainment, that could include your eating out,
Hmm.
that could be different activities that you or other family members, if you have children,
Hmm.
that they may participate in. So it
Right.
could be golf. So you get the idea. These are things that are fluctuating and vary. And um, I mentioned entertainment, but I was listing earlier under fixed expenses some things that went into other categories. So I mentioned water, electric. Those are forms of utility. So you could even break them down into those subcategories. But the main point is you want to make sure that you've identified which ones are fixed, which ones are very important for your home to operate on a regular basis. And the variable ones are the ones that you can choose to increase, decrease at any time, depending on your particular short term or long term goals. The one item that I did not mention that's extremely important within your spending plan is making sure that you're not just sending all of your money out, you're also paying yourself first. So you may have a category that could include your emergency fund. It could be other type of goal savings and investments. And as you continue on your journey, your plan will include other categories, subcategories under your savings and how you pay you and your family first, and not just spending all of your money out to different vendors. So I
Okay.
hope that was helpful, John.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Now you mentioned the big one, savings, the actual savings one, and emergency fund, right?
Hmm.
Especially
Yes.
in America, the average person can't pay. If they lost their job, they wouldn't last a month. They barely have $400 in an emergency fund, and so that's alarming. and it's very high. It's well over 60% of Americans don't have a solid, emergency fund, at least $1,000. So, what would you say would be a good starting point um, to start with as far as an emergency fund, and what would be, the ideal emergency fund?
Great question, John. So it depends. I would say there's several places that you can start.
Hmm.
So let's say if you are a high school or college student, young professional, someone starting out, and you're looking for a place to start, or you're someone who could be at a different point within your life or career. There could be a crisis or something that has happened that you feel like you're starting over at the beginning. And starting over at the beginning is okay because you're starting over. And the first position is to look at your spending plan and look at what are you spending money on, then make a decision if anything needs to be adjusted so you can start what I recommend, which is automatic savings. And that could be anywhere between 25, 50, $100 a month, and you have that automatically going into a savings account. And that savings account is for an emergency fund. An emergency fund is not for covering um, entertainment, it's not for covering um, some cute shoes or a new outfit. The emergency fund is for an emergency, let's say a flat tire or some type of repair or something that has happened, and you now need to cover that emergency. It's a true emergency. The
Right.
others are,
A
I
lot of
mentioned, are choices.
Yes, the emergency is, an appliance, a refrigerator goes on the fritz, transmission on your car or your
Hmm.
engine, or something like that happen. True blue emergency. Now there are a lot of people out there. I have talked to quite a few where they've said, "Well, those shoes, they were on sale. It was an emergency. I needed them." No, you did not need the shoes. It was not an emergency. Uh,
It's a priority. It's definitely a choice. And when you think about your goals and you're weighing your options, there are sometimes um, that you may make particular sacrifices, or you may make adjustments, and it could be for a specific reason or season. And
mhm.
I'll go into a quick example and then get back to your one of your original questions, which is what is the recommended amount you should have for an emergency fund. So a specific reason or season could be, let's say you've been leasing an apartment or condo or home, and you've been leasing, and you really are looking forward to home ownership. Um, and you may make adjustments within your spending plan to help you accelerate your savings goal so you can have a larger down payment. The down payment, certainly we could explore that in greater detail, but the main goal of having that down payment is to help you secure the home and the loan and be able to reduce the amount that you're going to be paying over time. And uh, a down payment could also be that you're saving towards, let's say, a car, or it could be for a specific trip. Um, uh, a short term, depending on where you are, could be for a bucket list item. So the specific reason and season that you make adjustments within your spending plan, those are good examples. But if we go back to the spending plan and your savings specifically, the emergency fund, I've gave you examples of automatic. You want to have it to where it just deducts and transfers into a savings account. Your goal is to have one that pays you, so some type of interest bearing account. Some of them require certain balances for you to get started. So maybe you start 20, 50, 100 until you get up to at least 1,000. Now, when you're looking at, that's your first goal. And the reason for that is most basic emergencies, transmission, a major appliance, they are within that window, or you've covered a majority of that expense if you have 1,000. Now, the ultimate goal is to go to cover your expenses. So whatever is within your spending plan, the total that includes your mortgage or lease, all the way down to your cell phone and Netflix, whatever it takes on a monthly basis, you want to have. Your first goal is 3 months, then you want to
Mhm.
build up to 6 to 9.
Right.
And as you're building that out, the amount of money will far exceed 1,000. And this is where you want to look at a higher interest bearing account. And you want to look at one that gives you the ability that you're able to transfer if you need it. But you want to consider that as break the glass emergency. It's not something that you just use on a regular basis, like you would use your ATM or your debit card on. It's one that
Right.
it's in a do not touch unless it's a true emergency, because you want to make sure that if something happened, whether you were ill, family member ill, or you were to lose your job or have some major crisis happen, you would be able to keep your home afloat for 3, 6 months early or longer.
Hmm.
So I hope those examples helped people know where to start.
Right. So yes.
Automatic savings and
Uh-huh.
then build.
Right. Automatic savings. And let's say you want your first goal is $1,000, in an emergency fund up to 12 months. And I like to add to that because it also depends on the industry that you work in. Because sometimes, we live in a time, just a few short years ago, we went into quarantine because of COVID, and it wiped some industries out. It changed some industries, forever. And so some people had to make changes during the COVID. Some people I've talked to, they've said that, COVID was the best, the quarantine, not the COVID. The quarantine was one of the better things that happened to their life once they looked at it, because it made them, really assess their life, and they decided to make that career change. They saw that their industry was shrinking anyway, and this COVID situation, the quarantine, actually accelerated, the industry dying. And so they just so happened they had, they actually had 2 years of savings, saved up of living expenses, and so they actually used some of it to, get a couple of certifications and get some training. And so once COVID, once we came out of quarantine, they hit the road running, and they were able to actually, they're living much better now than they were pre-COVID.
So
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up that example. So when we've talked about your firm foundation, we talked about your cash flow, which is your income stream. I'm glad you gave that example where someone had enough savings or emergency fund that was built up, that they were able to change industry or start a new business and career. And one of the ways that you want to continue doing your growth on your cash flow and building out those income streams is constantly looking for ways to excel within your career, within your goals and dreams, to make sure you're continuing your education, that you're staying up to speed on what's uh, going on within your industry or within your passions, so that you can make those different judgment calls to increase your and maximize your income, or take advantage of an exit opportunity, so that you can transition into a field before you're left in a crisis where someone made a choice for you as opposed to you making the choice to leave.
Right. Okay. So, yeah. So there we go. We've talked about the actual the cash part of the foundation, making sure that that is liquid, and liquid meaning is accessible in the real time. You can actually access it as needed. And so we want to save up that start with $1,000, working up to at least 12 months, depending on the industry you're involved in, how long it will take you to get another job if you did lose your income, you know Sometimes, like we said earlier, it could take longer than 12 months. Who knows? We don't know. In this today's economy. All right, welcome to the show. We all know out there that having a secure financial future is built upon a secure, sound financial foundation.
Well, John, I'm glad that you asked that. Um, I'd really like your feedback to see if there's anything else that you would like to add or find out that people have questions on.